So good morning, or good pre-lunch to everyone in the room. My name is Levi Buchanan, and in this quick 20-minute session, I want to talk about freemium and free-to-play, how it's forever altered the landscape for developers around the world, as well as publishers like Chillingo, and how we can be an enormous asset in making this new reality work for the developer's advantage, both tackling challenges and making the most of opportunities. But first, if you're not familiar with Chillingo, I'm just going to hit the top lines here. We're a division of Electronic Arts, part of EA Mobile. Chillingo has been in business for over 11 years. There are members on our team that have been in mobile since the days of flip phone gaming, myself included. And that experience gives us a certain level of perspective. But like any business that survives as long as we have and is thriving like we are, we use that perspective to educate our evolution. You likely know us by a lot of the games up here that have really defined our history. Angry Birds, Cut the Rope, Contre-Jour, Anomaly. Now, the majority of games that you see up here are paid downloads, premium games. But that's not really the driving force in app stores anymore. And I'm not denigrating paid games here, not at all. I have several of them on my phone. I cannot get enough of Monument Valley right now. There always have to be games that are paid downloads. To do so otherwise would truly spoil the integrity of those games. But in the few years that I've been with Chillingo, our roadmap has essentially flipped. When I started, we were 95% paid and the rest free. Now we're completely the opposite. 95% of our games are free to play with a few paid. And with that, 80% of our revenue is coming from those free games. It's been a remarkable transformation for Chillingo. But we saw it coming, and we laid out about an ambitious 2-year plan to turn Chillingo into a live services company that could really thrive in a free-to-play industry. So Chillingo works with indie developers around the world, and the word indie now means so many different things. But let's look at some of the folks in which we've worked with. Here are 4 of our development partners, all degrees of what you would consider indie. iCycle here was created by a single person, Reese Milridge. Lambda Moo, a small team, did Pixel People. Ninja Theory, a console developer, sought out help for their first mobile game, Fight Back. And of course, there's Mattel, the giant of the toy industry. We partnered with them on games such as He-Man. Now, what unites all these companies is they were looking for a publisher to help them with essential services. Now, in the past, that might have meant sales, PR, and marketing. With Chillingo, that also meant production. But the market has evolved, and a publisher now needs to offer so much more. Right now, that means live services. So we're talking to developers around the world, hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds each year, and most of them do see that free is now the dominant business model. But they're not always sure what to do, because free doesn't mean setting the price just to 0 anymore and adding a few IAP options in there. We've seen that. We've also seen that it simply just doesn't work. So a lot of folks have come to Chillingo looking for expertise, wanting to know how to best retail their game in a live services world. Let me go ahead and kind of show you what to expect out of a publisher here. So with us, production, help with monetization and retail, help with creative and graphics, of course, marketing, PR, and sales. We provide analytics, and like I just said, live services. So today, to kind of address the heart of the topic of this session, I want to take a deeper look at a game that Chillingo launched last year called Iron Force, to really show you how a publisher can add a great amount of value in an industry that is rapidly dependent now on live services, something that can truly overwhelm a studio, regardless of their size. So Iron Force up here, this is a live player versus player tank game. It's made by a developer called Coolfish, located in Beijing. It's action-packed, it's arcade-based, but it does have tactics and strategy in it. So to begin, I want to show you kind of how Chillingo focuses on free games. Now, I don't doubt there's anybody in this room familiar with the free-to-play cycle, ARM, acquisition, retention, monetization. We're with that too, but we also come at this from a different angle. The number one thing at Chillingo, the ultimate bottom line for us, is fun. Now, it sounds probably kind of glib to say that, but it's absolutely true. Too many people see mobile gaming driven too much these days by spreadsheets and performance marketing, monetization strategies, but none of that means a single thing if the game isn't fun. In fact, for us, fun is the first milestone in greenlight. Without it, we see absolutely no point in continuing, because you can throw almost anything at engagement and retention. But players at that point aren't going to invest unless they're having fun. So only when we know that we are absolutely dialed in on fun, that's when we start moving into the rest of the cycle: engagement, retention, and retail. All right, first I want to discuss some of the things that we did with engagement in Iron Force. Let me show you a few things that we recommended. We're going to start over here. We had a timer. We found that the initial game length was just too long. Players would find a round somewhat dragging, maybe they'd lose a connection. There were a number of reasons why not having a timer didn't work. And so what we did is we studied the length of session and reduced the timer significantly so players could, in a normal gaming session, play through about 2 game loops, 2 full matches, and have time to visit the store. Another thing that we added were parachute drops. There are power-ups and pickups, but we wanted to add some drama to it. We found that when things just appeared in the arena, players would kind of hang back, look for what they could expect, and then maybe venture out. Too often we saw players, just sort of sitting in cover and waiting, just holding out, and matches became very quiet. So we added these parachutes, not only to add that drama that I was talking about, but to also give players an indication where things might appear. And what this did is it really altered the dynamic of the game. This pumped a lot of action into scenes, it drew players out into the field, and it ended up that they got in a lot more skirmishes, fighting with each other. And then what that led to do was they would spend currency on respawning. Another important thing that we added was an avatar. We needed a face that would guide players through the world of Iron Force, and so we created Edda. And Edda tells players what's happening in the game, starting with the tutorial. It gives them a face that they can relate to, a voice of authority, a voice of encouragement that stays with them throughout the entire game. And by creating a personality with that, we now have a communication channel. We have a face on that communication channel for the entire lifetime of the game. Next, I want to talk a little bit about the retention tools that we added to Iron Force. Everyone knows now that you need social features. You absolutely have to have them. In Iron Force, of course, we integrated Facebook, and we did it right on the top layer. You see it almost as soon as you launch the game. Facebook is absolutely invaluable. Integrating it gave us an instant-on marketing channel that we could also run outside of the game. We also made sure to add social stuff that players could do with each other, tournaments and legions. Players absolutely want to play together, and so what we did is we made that incredibly easy for them to access. It's very, very simple to get in there, see other players, join a legion. And you can also look at the different legions, look at the performance of legion. There's not a lot of click downs in order to find this information. It needs to be at the very, very top so that it's accessible and there's no chore whatsoever in accessing it. Another thing that we also did is we added a hierarchy to the legions. By adding a chain of command, so at the top you have a commander, and that person can assign vice commanders, advisors, and more. And what this does is it adds an aspirational nature to the game. And that's a real social thing. So not only do you aspire to have a great tank, but you also aspire to be respected in that community. And when you get that, you have the rank to prove it. And in case you don't believe me that legions matter to our players, we have seen incredible snapshots in our forums. Here's one where he has put his legion in a decal on the back of his car. We had one just the other day where somebody took a selfie of them in the cockpit of an F-16 holding up their call sign. And they posted that to the forum, and of course that got a lot of likes and a lot of attention. A lot of people just have fun with things like that. So next is what we did for retail. The thing is you can't just encourage players to invest. You can't just put things out there and then leave them. You need to give them worthwhile things to invest in. So Iron Force, we made sure, had a compelling upgrade system. But at first, when we saw this, it was just numbers. Buying something, maybe bumped a number up, put another number down. But just bumping up stats, moving numbers around a screen is not remotely inspiring to players. So what we did is we changed it so that when you buy equipment, when you change the gear on your tank, you physically see it happen there. And that definitely increases your retail opportunity. And another thing that we did is we made sure to name all of the equipment. What that does when players can call things out, hey, did you get that new turret? No, they actually call it out by its new name. That adds a certain level of emotional connection. It adds an extra layer of narrative right there in the retail experience. Next up, icons. A few months out from launch, usually any publisher is starting to look at icons. And Chillingo has been absolutely obsessive about icons lately. I have to call out the incredible work of our graphics team, Lucy and Travis. They are doing amazing things. We ran through over 200 iterations of the Iron Force icon. We tried some different things like this. We had a button that looked like this is what I would press to enter a game match. We tried another thing. We went a little more realistic. We're going to star the tanks that are in the game. But we also are like, you know what? This is a multiplayer game as well, so let's go ahead and see about focusing on that. Let's put a whole bunch of tanks facing each other. We tested a lot of options. And here's eventually what we came up with. We said, you know what? This is a tank game. Let's definitely focus on the tanks. Let's go ahead and make sure that everyone knows that this is an action, not a tactics game. And then we made sure to add some 3D elements to it, really popped the color, made something very attractive. And here is what we ended up with after some very, very rigorous A/B testing. Lots of action, full 3D, pops off the store, even when you're looking at it on device. And also, very importantly, we made sure that we came up with a cohesive art direction that we could carry across all the other different assets, whether they're in-game ads, banners, social assets, things like that. So, once we had all this stuff, we decided it was time for the next big step, the soft launch. Now, any game with a complex economy should absolutely expect a soft launch, because you know what they absolutely say, about the best laid plans. You don't know necessarily what's going to happen until you're out there in the wild. The gamer is the ultimate arbiter of what works in your game and what doesn't. So if you don't have that feedback before going global, you're risking really not truly knowing your game. We soft launched Iron Force in Russia, and here's a graph kind of showing the course of the soft launch. It's a short one because the metrics looked really, really good right out of the gate. On this graph, you can see the DARPU between June 20th and July 20th. In the very, very first week of the soft launch, we looked at the grind economy. We looked at how people were earning and spending currency. What we found was that players were generously getting a lot of currency, and they were banking it. And what this did is it led to some really inflated wallets. They were rapidly upgrading their tanks without needing to play very long, and some things got a little out of balance. So what we did is we cut the amount of cash rewarded at the end of a game. We also reduced the amount of cash that was awarded in the parachute drops. We didn't reduce the frequency of them because those are so exciting. But when you picked one up, maybe you did get a little bit less later on after the soft launch. The next thing that we did is we started adjusting the premium economy. And that was a very, very big part of week 2. We saw that a lot of non-spending players were collecting an awful lot of diamonds. And diamonds are the premium currency inside of Iron Force. So we dropped the amount of diamond pickups. And to encourage folks to start spending some of those diamonds, we did a few things. One is we increased the number of gaps between leveling up. We changed some of the fuel costs, and we bumped up the price of some of the lower tanks. And then what this did is it had the exact same result as when we adjusted the grind economy. Players were playing for longer to earn more of this currency that they now felt was more valuable. Week 3 for us is sales and promotion testing. We knew that sales and promotions would be a massive driver for Iron Force, but we wanted to be prepared. So we tried different sales to see what the impact would be on some of our KPIs. We offered, for example, 50% off of patterns and decals. These promotions, they definitely led to a boost in sales, but they also led to the number of diamond spends that we would see on the day of a promotion. But one really cool thing that we did see, and that we didn't necessarily expect, was that after one of the promotion ended, maybe unit sales might decline a little bit, but the number of diamonds being spent was increasing. So we found that sales, they may have brought down some of the retail spend on already cheap items, but it increased sales on some of the higher items, and that definitely directly affected our DARPU. So, after a few weeks of really, really nicely collected data, we were ready to go global, and this is July 2012. All right, we launched. We used the very majority of our inventory to start spreading the word around the world. Here are some banners and ads that Chillingo and EA Games ran. Cross-promotion is absolutely something that you should expect from a publisher. We used a host of concepts and tested multiples in the field via limited deployment and some limited UA spend. That way we could kind of test the creativity, see what folks responded to, see what had the best click-through rate, and most importantly, see what had the best conversion rates. We ended up delivering over 65 million impressions in this initial launch campaign. We also deployed something called Pop the Offer, and that's Chillingo's exclusive cross-promotional tool. In non-action moments in a game with Pop the Offer, little bubbles will creep up into the screen. When you're on a title menu or you're on a pause menu, what you can do is you can play around with those bubbles, you can click through and go to the App Store. We wanted to make something interactive. We wanted to essentially kind of, for lack of a better word, gamify the cross-promotion experience. And you can see up here some of our numbers. We had 600 million total impressions that we delivered through Pop the Offer. We had a 3.67 click-through rate. We had a 1.2% conversion rate. These are absolutely excellent numbers. And another audience that we needed to know that we could go after were the core gamers, the tastemakers. And one way to do that is to purchase site wraps on popular mobile gaming sites, such as Touch Arcade up here. Now, the click-through on some of these ads, they're not necessarily astronomical, but they really, really assisted with the creation of a brand. Of course, you have to have social media, and here's some examples up here. The in-game Facebook integration that gave us an instant community, one that now has over 300,000 members, and that community is continuing to grow as well. It's a really, really great channel for us to reach our players, and players are using it now also to talk to each other outside of the game. We also enjoyed some excellent launch support from EA Mobile and some very, very nicely targeted campaigns, big brands like FIFA, Dragon Age. We reached out to the Command and Conquer community. These are things that we absolutely could not have done without our parent company, and it was truly invaluable. So, we've been through now the launch, but we all know that that's just one step in a very, very long marathon. That's where live services truly come in. And here is where a publisher can really help. This slide up here shows our product lifetime, our DARPU, and our updates. Since launch, Cool Fish and Chillingo have launched over 11 updates of varying degrees for Iron Force. This game is alive, it changes, it evolves, and it does so with the input from our fans. We are always looking at forums, looking at where our fans think that the game needs to be. We have short-term content plans, we have long-term content plans, lots of feature rollouts, sales, promotion, and so much more coming after the end of this graph. And the reason why we make sure to do this and communicate every step along the way of what's going in updates, where the ideas for what's in that update comes from, is it lets players know that we are absolutely as invested in you as you are in the game. And that really, what we found is that truly, really excites the community. We also, over time, well past launch, we make sure that the creative also evolves. The icon will change with massive updates. We're never really standing still with the creative. We still make sure that we stay inside that cohesive art direction that I talked about prior to launch. But we make sure that players know at all levels of promotion that this game is changing, evolving, and getting better. And where the platform allows, we've done a lot of stuff to localize. On Google Play, for example, along the top and these featurings here along the side, we can offer regional icons. We can put flags for different countries. These players absolutely love these because it allows them to express patriotism. And in a game like that, that offers another really compelling level of narrative, especially one that has legions like this does. And a lot of legions, you find that people in similar territories are joining up together. And that really adds a nice another level of narrative. We also made sure to hire professional artists. Adam Tooby, he helped us with some of the renders, that you see here in some of our ads. We wanted to make sure that not just with screenshots, but with these really, really bright, colorful ads, that we were showing the features that were coming to Iron Force. For example, here you can see the Ruined City, one of the new battlefields. We have another poster that talks about some of the Legion management. But we made sure in all these ads that we focused on action because we wanted to make sure our players knew that we were not losing sight of the core part of the game. I like your ringtone. Most important, though, in live services, community management. You want to make sure that you are eliciting meaningful and constructive feedback, nurturing loyalty, celebrating wins within the community. These are absolutely key to a live game, and Chillingo has assigned a dedicated community manager to Iron Force for this exact region. Our manager, Patrick, he works really, really hard to identify key players in the community. And he doesn't just determine who those folks are based on what they spent, but he looks at the passion. He looks at the way that they interact with the community and the different groups. And so what we do is we identify those key players and we communicate with them. We set up VIP fireside chats. We want them to make sure that they feel very much like they're part of the game's evolution, which they are. In fact, the most recent update, which I just showed you a poster for, Fallen City, that features a new tournament structure that came straight from the Iron Force community. They asked for it, we delivered it. Customer service is also very, very critical too for live services. We have 2 dedicated heads on Iron Force customer service. Communities expect and they deserve good service and clear communication. This is vital not just when something goes wrong, but also when everything is going right. There is never a moment in a live game when you can stop listening. Because truly, without your players, you're going absolutely nowhere. And so we make sure that we read every single review. There are over 25,000 of them, including over 18,000 5-star reviews, if I can say that. There is a lot of good in there. But to be fair, there's some bad. And we have dug down, and we've also seen some of the ugly. No offense whatsoever taken. It's their time. It's their money. We onboard all of their feedback, and we make sure that it goes into the future plans of Iron Force. The community has truly helped us form this game. And what they've done along the way is they've rewarded us. The revenue line for Iron Force is moving in one direction and one direction only. And despite the game launching in July of last year, a few weeks ago, we had our largest grossing day outside of Christmas Day. So, hopefully that some of these things that I've shared with you today shows just how a publisher can help an indie developer run a live service, giving you an idea of just truly how many moving parts there are in all these things. It's not just creative, it's not just customer service, it's not just community management, it's all of these things. And maybe you do, maybe you don't have the resource to do this, but we can help you maximize potential, we can help you refine, we can help you make those necessary adjustments as you go from development to soft launch to global and well beyond. So thank you very much, I appreciate your time, and I do have a few moments, it seems, for questions.
Does anyone have any questions today?
Yes, could you estimate the development budget in dollars and then the launch and promotion publishing budget in dollars?
Unfortunately, I can't share that with you. I wish that I could, but unfortunately I can't this afternoon.
Anyone else?
You spend a lot of time speaking about the live services that you offer to indie developers, and it's obviously a very robust set of services. Can you speak a little bit about what metrics you look at? Because obviously you're launching hundreds of games a year. For which games qualify for those, and what percentage of your games actually qualify for that entire suite of services?
Sure thing. Actually, let me roll back and address kind of the first part of that. So Chillingo actually does not launch hundreds of games per year. We are definitely not a volume publisher. In the time that I've been with Chillingo, year after year we've published fewer and fewer games, and the reason why is because of that transformation from paid one-time downloads to free games. You cannot adequately service both the developer and the customer, the two most important people to Chillingo, if you are operating a volume business. So year after year after year, and I've seen the roadmap for the back half of this year and the beginning of next year, and it's even fewer than we did for this year. So that's one way in which we make sure that all these games get the attention that they deserve, is we are publishing far fewer titles than in Chillingo's past. So, all right, apparently it looks like we are out of time. So again, thank you so much. I hope you have a great rest of Casual Connect.